When Margaret Brennan drove away from her Ohio home that August morning, no one could have predicted she'd never be seen again. The 82-year-old retired teacher had simply vanished on her way to a routine doctor's appointment, leaving no trace behind. But then, 8 months later, a logging crew's shocking discovery in the woods shattered every theory about her disappearance and revealed the sinister truth everyone had missed. Daniel Brennan was reviewing contracts at his dining room table when his phone rang. The number on the display showed a blocked caller ID, which he almost ignored. Too many spam calls these days. But something made him answer on the fourth ring. "Mr. Brennan, this is Special Agent Patricia Chun with the FBI. I'm calling about your mother, Margaret Brennan." The coffee mug in Daniel's hand trembled. 8 months. It had been 8 months since his mother vanished without a trace, and the calls had long since stopped coming. The local police had essentially given up after the first few weeks, classifying it as a voluntary disappearance. An elderly woman, recently depressed after her best friend's death, no signs of struggle. They'd made their assumptions clear. What about her? Daniel's voice came out. "Sir, I need you to come to Blackwood National Forest. A logging company made a discovery this morning that we believe is connected to your mother's case. Are you able to drive here now? Is she—" He couldn't finish the question. "We found her vehicle, Mr. Brennan. I'd prefer to discuss the details in person. Can you meet us at the ranger station off Route 47? Daniel was already grabbing his keys. "I'll be there in 40 minutes. The drive to Blackwood felt both endless and too quick. His hands gripped the steering wheel as his mind raced through possibilities. They'd found the car. After 8 months of nothing, no credit card activity, no phone pings, no sightings, they'd finally found something. The ranger station parking lot was crowded with official vehicles, FBI sedans, local police cruisers, and a crime scene van that made Daniel's stomach clench. Agent Chun met him at the entrance, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a professional demeanor that somehow managed to convey sympathy. "Mr. Brennan, thank you for coming. I know this is difficult." She gestured toward an FBI SUV. "The site is about 3 miles up an old logging road. I'll drive us there and explain what we know." As they bumped along the rough forest road, Agent Chun filled him in. A logging company was surveying for a new access road when they discovered a vehicle buried under what appeared to be a landslide. When they started to clear it, they realized the debris placement wasn't natural. "What do you mean, not natural?" "The logs and debris were arranged deliberately, Mr. Brennan. Someone went to significant effort to conceal this vehicle. When the crew saw it was a car underneath, they immediately called us. They rounded a bend, and Daniel saw the scene. Yellow tape cordoned off a section of forest where massive logs had been pulled aside. FBI technicians in protective gear worked methodically around a red sedan that sat partially buried in mud and forest debris. Even from a distance, even caked with dirt and damaged by months of exposure, Daniel recognized his mother's 2018 Toyota Camry. His legs felt weak as he exited the SUV. That morning, 8 months ago, rushed back with painful clarity. He'd stopped by her house for their regular Tuesday breakfast, but she was already preparing to leave. "Doctor's appointment," she'd said, gathering her purse. "Just routine blood work. These old bones need more maintenance than they used." Oh. He'd offered to drive her, but she'd waved him off. "Don't be silly. It's a beautiful morning, and I need to stop at the pharmacy afterward." She'd been wearing her favorite cardigan, the charcoal one he'd given her for Christmas, over a bright pink shirt, always a splash of color, even for routine errands. Their neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, had seen her loading Molly, her small black terrier, into the car around 10 a.m. Margaret had called the doctor's office at 10:15 to say she'd be running late due to construction on Maple Street. The receptionist remembered the call clearly because Margaret had been apologetic about the delay. She never arrived. Molly was found that evening wandering near the house, suggesting Margaret had either returned briefly or let the dog out somewhere nearby, but Margaret herself had vanished completely along with her car, as if the earth had swallowed them both. Now staring at the mud-caked vehicle being photographed from every angle, Daniel understood that's essentially what had happened. Someone had tried to make his mother's car disappear into the forest floor. "Mr. Brennan," Agent Chun said, gently leading him closer to a table where evidence bags were laid out. "We've recovered several personal items from the scene. I need you to identify them if you can." The first bag contained a leather purse, water-damaged but unmistakably his mother's, the coach bag he and Rebecca had given her for her 80th birthday. Inside, visible through the clear plastic, was her wallet, still containing her driver's license. Margaret Brennan's face smiled back at him from the small photo, frozen in time. The second bag held jewelry, a gold watch with a stretchy band that she wore every day. Her wedding rings, she'd never stopped wearing them in the 15 years since his father's death, and a small gold necklace with a pendant that read, "World's Best Grandma." Though Daniel and Rebecca had never been able to give her grandchildren, "This is all hers," Daniel confirmed, his voice thick. "But I don't understand why here. This is 20 miles from town, nowhere near the doctor's office or any route she would have taken." Agent Chun's expression was grim. "That's what we're investigating, Mr. Brennan. The concealment, the location, the deliberate nature of how the vehicle was hidden. None of this is consistent with an accident or voluntary disappearance. We're treating this as a crime scene." Daniel stared at the ruined car, at the massive logs that had hidden it for 8 months, at the evidence of his mother's last moments laid out on a folding table in the middle of the forest. Someone had done this. Someone had taken his mother and gone to extraordinary lengths to hide what they'd done. "What happens now?" he asked. "We continue processing the scene. We'll need a full statement from you about that last morning. Any concerns your mother might have mentioned, anyone who might have wished her harm." Chun paused. "And Mr. Brennan, I have to ask, is there anyone you can think of who had access to your mother's daily routine? Someone who would have known she'd be alone that morning?" The question hung in the air as Daniel watched technicians carefully document every detail of his mother's hidden grave. Daniel sat in his mother's kitchen, the familiar space feeling hollow without her presence. He'd been here countless times over the past 8 months, maintaining the house, collecting mail, ensuring everything stayed in order for when she returned. Now, knowing her car had been hidden in the forest all this time, the house felt like a crime scene itself. He pulled out her desk calendar, the one she religiously maintained despite his attempts to get her to use a smartphone. August 15th, 8 months ago, showed her neat handwriting. "Dr. Morrison, 10:30 a.m., blood work." Nothing unusual, nothing to indicate it would be her last entry. The doorbell interrupted his thoughts. Through the front window, he saw Mrs. Patterson from next door holding a casserole dish, the universal suburban response to tragedy. "Daniel, I saw you were here," she said when he opened the door. "I heard about what they found. I'm so sorry." He accepted the dish numbly. "Mrs. Patterson, you saw her that morning. The police said you were the last person. I've gone over it 1,000 times in my mind," the elderly woman said, wringing her hands. "It was just after 10 o'clock. I was watering my roses when Margaret came out. She had Molly with her, which I thought was odd for a doctor's appointment. Did she say anything?" "She seemed rushed. Said something about construction making. Her take the long way, so she was bringing Molly along for the ride rather than leaving her alone for too long." Mrs. Patterson's eyes welled up. "She asked if I could check on Molly if she was later than expected. That's why I went looking that evening when I saw her car wasn't back." "The construction," Daniel pressed. "Did she say where?" "Maple Street. I think they were replacing water lines that whole week. Traffic was backed up terribly. I avoided that area myself." After Mrs. Patterson left, Daniel called the city planning office. Yes, they confirmed there had been construction on Maple Street from August 12th through August 18th. The detour would have routed traffic down Elm, then to Highway 47, a route that could have taken his mother past the forest road where her car was found, though it wasn't the most direct path. Back at his mother's desk, Daniel began examining her financial documents with fresh scrutiny. When she'd first disappeared, he'd done a cursory check. Her checking account showed no activity after August 15th, no unusual withdrawals before that date. Her credit cards hadn't been used. It all supported the police theory of voluntary disappearance, perhaps a confused elderly woman who'd gotten lost. But now he looked deeper. Her filing system was meticulous. Bank statements organized by month, bills marked as paid with check numbers noted. He pulled out the folder marked Household Services. There was the lawn service, paid monthly. The cleaning lady who came twice a month, though that had stopped 6 months before the disappearance when the woman moved away. And there, a newer addition to the folder, Ashley Kovach, Caregiver Services. Daniel stared at the invoices. His mother had hired a caregiver. She'd never mentioned it. The invoices showed bi-weekly visits starting in January, 8 months before she vanished. Services listed included medication management, errands, companionship, light housekeeping. The rate was reasonable, $25 an hour, usually 3 to 4 hours per visit. He found canceled checks made out to Ashley Kovach, all in his mother's careful script. The last one was dated August 1st, 2 weeks before the disappearance. But something was off. In the margin of her check register, his mother had penciled a question mark next to the July payment. And next to August's entry, she'd written verify amount. Daniel's phone buzzed. Rebecca checking in. How are you holding up? Do you need me to come over? I'm at Mom's house. Did you know she hired a caregiver? A caregiver? No, she never mentioned that. She seemed to be managing fine on her own. That's what Daniel had thought too. His mother was remarkably independent for 82, still driving, still maintaining her house and garden. She'd been sad after her friend Eleanor died, but she'd been seeing a therapist and seemed to be improving. Why would she need a caregiver? He studied the invoices more carefully. Ashley Kovach's address was listed as an apartment complex on the south side of town. No company name, just her personal information. A phone number with a local area code. Something about those question marks in the check register nagged at him. His mother was precise about money, having managed the household finances for over 50 years. If she was questioning amounts, something had been wrong. Daniel gathered the caregiver invoices and check register. Tomorrow he'd track down Ashley Kovach. After 8 months of no answers, he finally had a thread to pull. Daniel was still studying his mother's financial papers the next morning when his phone rang. The number was unfamiliar but local. Hello, is this Daniel Brennan? The woman's voice was young, professional. This is Ashley Kovach. I was your mother's caregiver. I just saw the news about them finding her car. I'm so terribly sorry. Daniel straightened in his chair. He'd been planning to track her down, and here she was calling him. Miss Kovach, yes. I actually just found your invoices in my mother's files. I didn't know she'd hired anyone. She didn't want to worry you, Ashley said, her tone sympathetic. You know how independent she was. She only called me after she had that little fall in January. Didn't even tell you about that. Did she? Just bruised her hip, but it scared her. She wanted someone to check on her regularly, help with the heavier housework. Daniel hadn't known about any fall. Another secret his mother had kept, probably not wanting to seem frail. I was actually hoping to talk to you. You might have been one of the last people to see her. Oh, I actually hadn't seen her for about 2 weeks before she disappeared. She'd canceled our regular appointments, said she was feeling better and wanted to try managing on her own again. Ashley paused. Listen, Mr. Brennan, I still have a few of your mother's things at my apartment. Her spare house key and some medical supplies. She asked me to pick up a blood pressure monitor, some medications from the pharmacy. I kept meaning to return them, but after she vanished, I didn't know what to do with them. You have her house key? She gave it to me for emergencies. I should have returned it sooner, but with everything that happened, would you like me to bring these things by? I could drop them off at her house if you're going to be there. Daniel glanced at the pile of financial documents spread across the dining table. Actually, that would be helpful. I'm here now, trying to go through all her paperwork. It's overwhelming. I never realized how much she handled. Oh, I can imagine. Your mother kept meticulous records. I used to help her file things sometimes. Ashley's voice brightened. I could help you organize them if you'd like. I know her system pretty well. That's kind of you to offer. When could you come by? I could be there in about an hour if that works. I have the afternoon free. After ending the call, Daniel felt a mixture of relief and unease. Ashley seemed helpful, caring, exactly the kind of person his mother would have trusted. But those question marks in the check register still bothered him. An hour later, a silver Honda Civic pulled into the driveway. Ashley Kavach was younger than Daniel had expected, late 20s, with blonde hair pulled back in a professional ponytail. She wore fitted jeans and a blazer that looked expensive. As she walked up the front path carrying a canvas bag, something caught the afternoon sun, diamond earrings, large ones. Mr. Brennan, she said, extending her hand. I'm so glad to finally meet you, though I wish it were under better circumstances. Her handshake was firm, confident. Up close, Daniel noticed her designer handbag, the Rolex on her wrist. For someone charging $25 an hour for caregiver services, she seemed to be doing remarkably well. Inside, Ashley pulled items from her bag, the blood pressure monitor, still in its box, several prescription bottles, and a single key on a keychain with a small butterfly charm. Your mother loved butterflies, Ashley said, noticing his gaze. She had that beautiful garden out back with all the butterfly bushes. It was true, such a specific detail that only someone who'd spent time here would know. Daniel felt ashamed of his momentary suspicion about her jewelry. Maybe she had family money or another job. Ashley looked at the papers covering the dining table. Oh my, you really do have your work cut out for you. Your mother kept everything so organized, but I imagine it's still overwhelming if you don't know her system. Especially the financial stuff, Daniel admitted. I'm not even sure what I'm looking for. Ashley moved closer to the table, scanning the documents. She was worried about money those last weeks, you know. Kept asking me if I thought she was being overcharged for things, if her utilities seemed high. I told her everything looked normal to me, but she seemed anxious about it. Daniel frowned. Worried about money? Mom had an excellent pension from teaching, plus Dad's life insurance and their investments. She was very comfortable. Oh, I'm sure you're right, Ashley said quickly. Maybe I misunderstood. She might have just been double-checking things. You know how careful the older generation is about waste. But Daniel's mother had never worried about money in her life. His father had been a successful insurance agent, and they'd lived well below their means. The house was paid off decades ago. She donated generously to charities, never haggled over prices, and had often said her biggest financial concern was figuring out how to spend it all before she died. Here, Ashley said, beginning to sort papers into piles. Let me help you get this organized. Medical receipts here, utilities here, bank statements here. Your mother taught me her filing system. She was very particular about it. Daniel watched as Ashley efficiently categorized documents, her manicured nails another expensive detail, moving quickly through the papers. She did seem to know the system, but something felt off about her claim that his mother had been worried about money. It was so completely out of character. Still, Ashley was here helping, being kind, And she had worked for his mother for months. Surely Margaret Brennan, who'd spent 40 years as a teacher reading people, would have sensed if something was wrong with her caregiver, wouldn't she? For the next hour, Ashley worked beside Daniel, sorting through years of his mother's careful record-keeping. She was efficient, helpful, occasionally sharing small anecdotes about Margaret that rang true. How she insisted on using her good china for their tea during visits. How she'd fret over her tomato plants during dry spells. Your mother was such a lovely woman, Ashley said, reaching for another stack of papers. Some of my other clients could be difficult, but Margaret always treated me like family. Daniel glanced at her again, noting a tennis bracelet that caught the light as she moved. He'd priced similar ones when shopping for Rebecca's birthday at least $3,000. He pushed the thought away. Maybe Ashley had a wealthy boyfriend or came from money. It wasn't his business. These other clients, he said, trying to make conversation. Are they all elderly? Oh yes. I specialize in elder care. I have just a small group, 3 or 4 at a time. I like to keep it personal, build real relationships. She smiled warmly. Your mother actually referred me to her friend Mrs. Chun down the street. Such a sweet lady. Daniel knew Mrs. Chun, another retired teacher who'd worked with his mother. He made a mental note to check on her, see if she was all right. As they worked, Ashley seemed increasingly interested in the financial documents. Oh, here's her investment portfolio summary, she said, pulling out a fidelity statement. I remember she was always checking these, worried about market volatility affecting her retirement. Another lie. His mother had once told him she never looked at her investment statements, trusting the conservative allocation her financial advisor had set up years ago. The market goes up, the market goes down, she'd said. At my age, why worry? I should put these sensitive documents aside, Daniel said, reaching for the investment papers. Of course, Ashley agreed. But he noticed her eyes scanning the numbers before releasing them. I'll focus on organizing these medical receipts. There are so many. Your mother really stayed on top of her health. Daniel gathered the financial statements, credit card records, and anything with account numbers, creating a separate pile. As he did, he noticed Ashley watching him peripherally, her friendly chatter continuing, but her attention clearly divided. I need to use the restroom, Ashley announced. Still remember where it is from all those visits. While she was gone, Daniel felt an uncomfortable sensation, like something was crawling up his spine. He thought about the expensive jewelry again, the lies about his mother's financial concerns. His mother had been a teacher for 40 years. She could read people like books. If she'd put those question marks next to Ashley's payments, there was a reason. He heard footsteps upstairs. Odd, since the bathroom was on the main floor. What was Ashley doing up there? Daniel moved quietly to the staircase, listening. The floorboards in his mother's bedroom creaked, the sound of drawers opening. Moving quickly but silently, Daniel climbed the stairs. He found Ashley in his mother's bedroom, standing by the knitstand, several papers in her hand. What are you doing? He asked. Ashley spun around, startled, but quickly recovered. Oh, you scared me. I remembered your mother kept some important papers up here. She showed me once when she was worried about. I asked you to stay with the medical receipts. I was just trying to help. Your mother often had me help her find important documents. I thought I could save you some time. Daniel looked at the papers in her hand. One appeared to be a handwritten list, account numbers, passwords, his mother's master list for online banking, which she kept hidden in her knitstand. Drawer. Please put those down, he said coldly. Ashley set the papers back on the knitstand, her friendly mask slipping for just a moment. Something flashed in her eyes, frustration, anger. Then the pleasant smile returned. I'm sorry, I overstepped. I was just so used to helping Margaret with everything. They returned downstairs in uncomfortable silence. Ashley gathered her things quickly. I should go. I can see this is difficult for you, having a stranger in your mother's space. Thank you for returning her things, Daniel managed, his mind racing. After she left, Daniel went straight back to his mother's bedroom. The master list was where Ashley had placed it, but several other drawers had clearly been disturbed. His mother's jewelry box had been moved slightly. Nothing seemed to be missing, but someone had definitely been searching. Then he noticed the closet door was ajar. Inside, barely visible behind hanging clothes, was his mother's safe. She'd shown it to him once, made sure he knew the combination in case something happened to her. The digital display was dark, normal, but when Daniel touched the keypad to activate it, an error message appeared. Access denied. 3 incorrect attempts. Key override required. His blood ran cold. The safe would only show this message if someone had tried and failed to open it 3 times in succession. The attempts were recent, within the last hour, based on the system. Timeout. Only one person had been upstairs alone. Daniel's hands shook as he reached for his phone. Ashley Kovach hadn't just been his mother's caregiver. She'd been stealing from her, or trying to. The questioned payments in the check register suddenly made perfect sense. His mother had discovered something was wrong. He started to dial 911, then hesitated. What would he say? That his mother's former caregiver had tried to open a safe. Ashley could claim his mother had asked her to access it months ago. He had no real proof of current wrongdoing, but he knew with the same certainty he'd felt when Agent Chun showed him the deliberately hidden car that Ashley Kovach was connected to his mother's disappearance. The woman who had sat in this house drinking tea with his mother, gaining her trust, had been stealing from her. And when Margaret had started questioning the payments, putting those careful marks in her check register, a sound from downstairs made Daniel freeze. A splintering crack, then the back door. He heard the distinctive creak of those old hinges. He'd locked it after Ashley left, he was certain. Moving as quietly as possible, Daniel crept to the top of the stairs. He could hear movement in the kitchen, drawers being opened, not the careful sounds of someone trying to be stealthy, but quick, urgent searching. His phone was in his hand. He should call the police, but the sounds were moving closer to the staircase, and if he spoke, whoever was down there would hear him. Daniel looked around desperately for something to defend himself with. His mother's brass reading lamp, heavy, substantial. He gripped it like a club and started down the stairs, trying to remember which steps creaked. The sounds from the kitchen had stopped. Either the intruder had found what they were looking for, or they'd heard him. Daniel reached the bottom of the stairs and peered around the corner. The kitchen appeared empty, but the back door stood wide open, afternoon sunlight streaming. In several drawers were pulled out, papers scattered on the floor. As he stepped into the kitchen, lamp raised, a shadow fell across the doorway. A man stood there, tall, muscular, late 20s or early 30s. He wore work clothes splattered with what looked like concrete, and his expression was coldly purposeful. "You must be the son," the man said, stepping inside. "Ashley said you might be a problem." Before Daniel could respond or react, the man rushed him. Daniel swung the brass lamp desperately, but the man was faster. He ducked under the arc and slammed into Daniel's midsection, driving him backward into the kitchen counter. The lamp crashed to the floor as Daniel gasped for air, winded by the impact. "Should have minded your own business," the man growled, pinning Daniel against the counter with one thick forearm across his throat. With his free hand, he pulled a pistol from his waistband, an old revolver that Daniel recognized with a sick jolt. His father's service weapon from his army days, kept in the bedroom closet. "That's my father's gun," Daniel wheezed. "Your mom showed Ashley where everything was," the man said, pressing the barrel against Daniel's ribs. "Trusting old lady. Too trusting. Now move. We're going downstairs." The man, who Daniel later learned was named Tyler, forced him toward the basement door, the gun never wavering. Daniel's mind raced. This man knew Ashley, knew about the gun, had clearly been in the house before. The pieces were falling into place in the worst possible way. The basement was finished, converted years ago into a rec room where Daniel and his sister had played as children. Now Tyler shoved him toward an old wooden chair near the water heater. "Sit," Tyler commanded. When Daniel hesitated, Tyler struck him across the face with the gun barrel. Pain exploded through Daniel's cheek as he stumbled into the chair. Tyler produced zip ties from his pocket. He'd come prepared and secured Daniel's wrists behind the chair back, then his ankles to the chair legs. "Ashley's on her way back," Tyler said, checking his phone. "You couldn't just let things be, could you? She said you were getting suspicious, going through all those papers, finding things you shouldn't. What did you do to my mother?" Daniel demanded, tasting blood from his split lip. Tyler laughed, an ugly sound. "Your mother did it to herself." Started questioning every little charge, going through her bank statements like some kind of detective. "Ashley was careful for over a year, just small amounts here and there. But your mom noticed, threatened to call the police, report Ashley to Adult Protective Services." Daniel's stomach churned. His mother had discovered the theft. Those question marks in the register weren't just suspicions, they were evidence. She was building. The basement door opened, and Ashley's heels clicked on the wooden stairs. She appeared, looking flustered, her earlier poise completely gone. "His wife knows they had dinner plans," she said to Tyler. "She'll come looking when he doesn't show up." "So we'll be ready for her," Tyler replied. "How long do we have?" Ashley checked her phone. He was supposed to meet her at 6 o'clock. It's 5:15 now. "Plenty of time." Tyler turned back to Daniel. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give us the combination to your mother's safe. We know she told you. She told Ashley all about how responsible her son was, how you had all her important information in case of emergency." "Go to hell," Daniel spat. Tyler backhanded him casually, splitting his lip further. "Wrong answer. See, we need what's in that safe. Your mom had bonds in there, cash. Her really valuable jewelry, probably 50 grand worth. Easy. That was always the plan. Build trust. Get access, clean her out, and move on to the next lonely old lady." "But she caught on," Ashley added, pacing nervously. "Started documenting everything, said she was building a case. We couldn't let her ruin everything." The full horror that hit Daniel like a physical blow. "You killed her. You killed my mother because she caught you stealing." "We didn't have a choice." Ashley's voice went shrill. "She called me that morning, said she had proof copies of forged checks I'd written, told me to meet her, or she was going straight to the police. What were we supposed to do?" Daniel felt tears burning his eyes. His mother's last morning. She'd been planning to confront her caregiver, probably hoping to resolve it quietly, give Ashley a chance to make things right. Instead, she never made it to the doctor, he said hollowly. "No," Tyler confirmed. "Ashley called me, panicking. We intercepted her on that construction detour. Used your dad's gun to force her to drive to the forest. Made it look like she went willingly. No signs of struggle at the house, no witnesses, just an old lady who disappeared. You shot her. It wasn't a question." "It was quick," Tyler said, as if that mattered. "More than she deserved after threatening to destroy our whole operation." The casual cruelty of it made Daniel's vision blur with rage. His mother, who'd taught thousands of children, who'd never hurt anyone in her life, executed in the forest because she'd caught a thief. "The safe combination," Ashley pressed. "We need it now. We've waited 8 months, kept coming back to check, but could never get in. That's our money in their payment for dealing with your mother's accusations." "She trusted you," Daniel said to Ashley. "She let you into her home, treated you like family." "Business is business," Ashley replied. though she couldn't meet his eyes. "I've got 3 other clients right now. All of them loaded, all of them lonely. Your mother was supposed to be easy money if she hadn't been so damn sharp." A car door slammed outside. Ashley and Tyler both froze. "That'll be the wife," Tyler said. He checked his gun, made sure a round was chambered. "I'll handle this." "No more killing," Ashley hissed. "We get the combination and get out. That's it." "You think she's just going to leave when he doesn't answer?" "She has a key," Tyler said. He said they had dinner plans. As if on cue, they heard the front door open. "Daniel, are you here? Your car's in the driveway." Rebecca's voice carried clearly down to the basement. "Daniel, is everything okay? I saw the back door was—" The sound of a struggle. Rebecca's scream cut short, something heavy hitting the floor. Daniel pulled desperately against the zip ties, the plastic cutting into his wrists. Minutes later, Tyler reappeared, half carrying, half dragging Rebecca. Her face was pale with shock, a red mark already forming on her cheek where he'd struck her. Tyler forced her into another chair and began securing her with more zip ties. "I called 911, Rebecca gasped out. "Before I came in, saw the broken door. They're already coming." Ashley went white. "You're lying." "Check her phone," Rebecca challenged. "Last call 2 minutes ago." Tyler grabbed Rebecca's phone from her pocket, his face darkening as he saw the call log. She really did. "How long?" Ashley demanded. "This neighborhood?" 5 minutes, maybe less. The 2 criminals looked at each other, a whole conversation in that glance. They'd killed before. They could kill again. But 2 more bodies with police already on the way? "The van," Tyler decided. "We take them both. Get the combination. On the way." He cut Daniel's ankle ties with a pocket knife, but left his wrists bound. "Up, both of you. Try anything, and I start shooting." Tyler pushed them up the basement stairs at gunpoint while Ashley ran ahead to get the van. Through the kitchen window, Daniel could see a white construction van backing into the driveway. Marsh Construction painted on the side in fading letters. "Move," Tyler ordered, jabbing the gun into Daniel's back. As they stumbled through the kitchen, Daniel noticed Ashley had grabbed a blue tarp from somewhere, the same type contractors used. His stomach turned as he realized what it was for. They weren't planning on driving them anywhere alive. Rebecca must have had the same thought. "They're going to kill us anyway," she said to Daniel. "Just like your mom." "Shut up," Tyler snapped, but his nervousness was showing. In the distance, they could hear sirens, still faint but growing louder. Ashley threw open the van's rear doors. The cargo area was empty except for tools and more blue tarps. "Get them. In hurry." Tyler shoved Rebecca in first, then Daniel. The metal floor was cold through Daniel's shirt as Tyler climbed in after them, keeping the gun trained on them while Ashley slammed the doors. "Where?" Ashley called from the driver's seat. "The same place," Tyler replied. "Miller's." "Mine, no one goes there." The van lurched into motion, tires squealing as Ashley accelerated out of the suburban neighborhood. Daniel and Rebecca slid across the floor with their hands bound, unable to brace themselves. "The combination," Tyler demanded, steadying himself against the van wall. "Give it to me now, and maybe this goes easier." "If I tell you, you'll kill us immediately," Daniel said. "You're dead either way. This just determines how much you suffer first." The sirens were louder now, and Ashley was driving erratically, taking corners too fast. Through the small window between the cargo area and cab, Daniel could see her checking the mirrors constantly. "They're tracking my phone," Rebecca said suddenly. "I have locations sharing with my sister. She can see where I am." Tyler's face darkened. He grabbed Rebecca's phone from his pocket and powered it off. "Not anymore." But Rebecca smiled grimly. "Turning it off doesn't matter. They can still ping the last tower it connected to. And 911 calls are recorded. I told them about the break-in, that I was at Margaret Brennan's house. They'll know exactly where to look. She's lying, Ashley called back, but uncertainty colored her voice. No, she's not, Daniel said, playing along with Rebecca's gambit. Cell tower triangulation. They're probably setting up roadblocks right now. Tyler struck him with the gun butt, but the blow lacked force. The man was rattled. The sirens seemed to be everywhere now, echoing off the buildings as Ashley wove through traffic. Take Highway 47, Tyler ordered. We can lose them in the forest roads. That's where Mom's car was found, Daniel realized aloud. You're taking us to the same area. Shut up. Ashley merged onto the highway, accelerating past other vehicles. But as they crested a hill, brake lights lit up ahead, a sea of red stretching into the distance. Traffic was stopped. What the hell? Ashley hit the brakes hard, throwing everyone forward. Through the windshield, Daniel could see the reason. Police cars were positioned across all lanes about a quarter-mile ahead, lights flashing. Officers were out of their vehicles, checking each car as it slowly passed through the checkpoint. Roadblock. Tyler breathed. They actually set up a roadblock. Back up. He shouted to Ashley. Turn around. I can't. There's traffic behind us. They were trapped cars ahead, cars behind, concrete barriers on both sides of the highway. Ashley's panicked breathing was audible from the front seat. The forest exit, Tyler said suddenly. Before the roadblock, pull off there. Ashley jerked the wheel right, cutting off another vehicle as she veered toward an exit ramp. The van tilted dangerously as she took the curve too fast. They were on a two-lane forest road now, the same one that led to where Margaret's car had been found. They'll follow us, Ashley said, her voice high with panic. She was right. In the mirrors, Daniel could see police cars peeling off from the roadblock, following their escape route. The van's engine strained as Ashley pushed it harder, but it was built for hauling materials, not high-speed chases. There. Tyler pointed to a dirt road branching off. Take it. Ashley yanked the wheel, and the van fishtailed onto the forest track. Trees pressed close on both sides, branches scraping against the vehicle. The police sirens were getting closer. It's over, Rebecca said calmly. You can't outrun them in this thing. Let us go, and maybe they don't shoot you. Shut up. Tyler was losing control, waving the gun wildly. This wasn't supposed to happen. It was just supposed to be easy money from old people who had more than they needed. The dirt road ended abruptly in a small clearing. Ashley slammed on the brakes, the van sliding to a stop just feet from a massive pine tree. Through the front window, Daniel could see they were trapped dense forest on all sides, no way forward. Behind them, police cars were pulling into the clearing, forming a semicircle. Officers emerged, using their doors as shields, weapons drawn. Tyler Marsh, Ashley Kovach. A voice boomed from a police megaphone. Exit the vehicle with your hands visible. What do we do? Ashley was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Tyler, what do we do? Tyler looked at the gun in his hand, then at Daniel and Rebecca, finally at Ashley. For a moment, Daniel thought he might start shooting, go down fighting rather than face justice for Margaret's murder. Then more police cars arrived, VI vehicles. A SWAT van. The clearing filled with law enforcement, all focused on one battered construction van. It's done, Tyler said quietly, defeat in his voice. He set the gun on the van floor. We're done. Exit the vehicle now, the megaphone commanded. Hands where we can see them. Ashley opened her door first, hands shaking as she raised them. Officers moved in immediately, pulling her to the ground. Tyler followed, tossing the gun out, before emerging with hands high. As soon as the criminals were secured, officers rushed to the van's rear doors. Daniel had never been so relieved to see uniformed police in his life. They cut the zip ties, helped him and Rebecca out into the fading daylight. Are you hurt? An EMT was there immediately, checking them over. "We're okay," Daniel managed, though his legs were shaking. "They killed my mother," they confessed. "She caught them stealing, and they killed her. They're both going away for a very long time," an FBI agent said. Daniel looked over at where Ashley and Tyler were being loaded into separate police cars. Ashley was sobbing, all her poise gone. Tyler stared straight ahead, his face blank. 8 months of questions, of not knowing what happened to his mother. And it came down to simple greed, a caregiver who saw an opportunity, and a boyfriend willing to kill to protect their scheme. The fluorescent lights in the police station interview room cast harsh shadows across Tyler Marsh's face. He sat shackled to the metal table, his construction worker bravado completely evaporated. Across from him, FBI Special Agent Chun and Detective Rodriguez waited with digital recorders. Running. Daniel watched from behind the one-way glass, Rebecca's hand gripping his. They'd been treated for minor injuries and given their statements, but Daniel had asked to observe the formal interrogation. He needed to hear everything. Needed to know where his mother was. "We've already got you on kidnapping and attempted murder," Agent Chun said calmly. "Your girlfriend Ashley is in the next room telling us everything. You might as well give us your version." Tyler's jaw worked silently for a moment. His lawyer, a tired-looking public defender, whispered something in his ear. "I want a deal," Tyler finally said. "I tell you everything, you take the death penalty off the table. Tell us where Margaret Brennan's body is first." Detective Rodriguez countered. "Then we'll discuss deals." Tyler slumped in his chair. "Miller's Mine, the old copper mine off Forest Service Road 12. About 10 miles past where we dumped her car." Daniel felt his knees weaken. 10 miles. His mother had been 10 miles from where they'd searched for 8 months. "She's in the main shaft," Tyler continued, his voice flat. "About 60 feet down. We weighted the body with concrete blocks from my construction site. Why hide the car separately?" Agent Chun asked. "That was Ashley's idea. She said if the car was ever found, police would search that immediate area. So we dumped Margaret in the mine first, then drove back and buried the car 5 miles away. Used my equipment backhoe, front loader piled those logs up to make it look like an old landslide. Figured no one would disturb it for years." "Walk." U.S. through August 15th, Rodriguez prompted. Tyler rubbed his face with cuffed hands. "Ashley called me around 10:30, freaking out. Said the old lady had confronted her about forged checks, threatened to call the cops. Margaret had told Ashley to meet her at the house, or she'd go straight to the police. But Margaret never made it home. Ashley had a key, let herself in, found the old man's gun in the bedroom closet. Ashley knew where everything was in that house. When Margaret called the doctor's office about the construction delay, Ashley told me to intercept her on the detour route. How did you know which way she'd go?" Ashley had been her caregiver for over a year. Knew all her habits, her routes. The construction on Maple meant she'd take Elm to Highway 47. I waited at the intersection with Foster Road. Followed her when she passed. Agent Chun leaned forward. "Then what?" I flashed my lights, honked. She recognized me. I'd been to the house before. Fixed some stuff, told her Ashley had fallen at her house, was hurt, needed help. She followed me to a pullout on the Forest Road. Daniel closed his eyes, imagining his trusting mother following this man. Worried about the young woman she'd tried to help. Soon as she got out of the car, I showed her the gun, made her get in my van, drove to the mine while Ashley followed in Margaret's car. She must have been terrified, Rodriguez said. Something flickered across Tyler's face, guilt, maybe, or just annoyance at the memory. She kept saying she just wanted the stealing to stop, that she wouldn't press charges if Ashley returned the money. Even then, trying to be nice about it. But you killed her anyway, couldn't let her go. She'd seen too much, knew too much. Ashley had stolen almost $40,000 by then from her and the other old people. We were planning to run, had it all set up. Fake IDs, tickets to Thailand, the works. Where are these documents? Shun asked. Storage unit on Riverside Drive. Unit 47. Ashley has the key. In the observation room, Daniel heard another detective radio the information to a search team. Within minutes, they'd have the evidence. The other victims, Rodriguez pressed. Mrs. Chun, Mr. Walters, Mrs. DeFranco, how much total? Over 2 years, maybe 400,000. Ashley was smart about it, little bits here and there. Forged. Checks, skimmed cash, sold jewelry they'd never miss. These old people, they trusted her completely. She'd help them pay bills, organize finances, easy to take extra. Until Margaret Brennan noticed. Tyler nodded. That woman was sharp. Started matching her bank statements against receipts. Found checks she didn't remember writing. Ashley tried to gaslight her, make her think she was getting confused, but Margaret wasn't buying it. The door opened, and another agent entered, whispering to Chun. She nodded and turned back to Tyler. The storage unit team just called. They found the fake passports, plane tickets dated for 2 weeks from now, and approximately 200,000 in cash. Also found Margaret Brennan's checkbook and credit cards she'd been holding on to. Tyler's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear again, but Tyler waved him off. Look, I'm done lying. Yes, we killed her. Yes, we were robbing old people. Yes, we were going to run. Ashley can cry and blame me all she wants, but she was the mastermind. I just did the dirty work. One more thing, Chun said. Why keep targeting elderly clients after Margaret's murder? Why not run immediately? Needed more money. Thailand's expensive if you want to disappear properly. And Ashley said no one suspected us. Margaret's disappearance looked voluntary. The cops weren't investigating the thefts. We figured. We had time. A knock on the interrogation room door interrupted. Another agent leaned in. We've got teams at the mine. Cadaver dogs are alerting at the main shaft. Daniel turned away from the window, unable to watch anymore. His mother was in a mine shaft, had been there for 8 months while he'd hoped and prayed and searched. All because she'd noticed someone stealing from her and had the courage to confront them. You okay? Rebecca asked softly. They'll bring her home, Daniel said, his voice thick. We can finally have a proper funeral. She deserves that. Through the glass, Tyler was signing his confession, page after page, detailing the theft ring, the murder, the cover-up, Ashley's. Confession in the next room would match it, both criminals eager to blame the other for the worst parts. But Daniel knew the truth now. His mother had died because she'd trusted the wrong person. Because she'd opened her home to someone who saw her only as a mark. The teacher who had shaped thousands of young lives had been betrayed by greed. Killed for money she would have freely given to anyone truly in need, that at least now she could rest properly. And Ashley Kavach and Tyler Marsh would spend the rest of their lives in prison, paying for those 8 months of agony they'd caused. An entire family. Agent Chun emerged from the interrogation room, approaching Daniel with compassion in her eyes. We'll have recovery teams at the mine within the hour. I promise you, Mr. Brennan, we'll bring your mother home with all the dignity and respect she deserves. Daniel nodded, unable to speak. After 8 months of questions, he finally had answers. They weren't the answers he'd wanted. There was no miracle, no mistake, no hope of finding her alive somewhere. But there was justice, and there was truth. And there would be a place to lay flowers and say goodbye properly. It would have to be enough.